Steve-O here with Tima and Stella, who's hiding in the back. Come on, Stella. And we're continuing our following of the Jefferson Highway as best we can. We're starting here in North Kansas City, kind of where we left off, just a little bit north of it. And actually where we're going is we're going to follow it through Jackson County, Missouri, which is actually Kansas City, Missouri. It's the main town. And that is right ahead. We're crossing the Missouri River at the ASP Bridge. Which is where the highway crosses over from the north part of the metro area of Kansas City to the south part, which is divided by the Missouri River. It's 3rd Street, exit 3/4 of a mile. I better get over because we're still in it's the last days of December, 30th of December. We're still in the holiday season, and people are not driving their best these days. Crossing over the Missouri River, entering Jackson County. So this is where our journey really begins. The Jefferson Highway, Jackson County, Missouri. We're turning right on 3rd Street, coming into the farmers market area of Kansas City. They now call it the River Market. It was called the River Key at one time, in the late 60s into the mid to late 70s. What you doing, Tima? Turning right on 3rd Street here, and we're going to turn left up here at Grand, and the farmers market will be right up ahead here. The little place calls itself a diner corner. Diner style, I guess. It's a brick building. Looks kind of like a diner. Alright, and we are turning left on Grand. This is the farmers market. Nice views of downtown Kansas City from here. A lot of road construction going on because they're putting in trolley tracks. Kansas City's about to get a trolley system. Got rid of their streetcar system in 1957, tore up a lot of the tracks and everything, and now it's costing many billions of dollars to basically get that back. Alright, I'm going to get set to make another left turn. It should be on Admiral. We stopped here at 6th and Grand. I say should be on Admiral, but Admiral is a one-way street going in the direction we're not going, so we have to take the next block to the south. And once we cross out of the what they call the downtown loop here in Kansas City, we will get on Admiral and then be turning on Paseo. See, this is Admiral right here, and it says no left turn because it's a one-way. So we will pick up the next block. which is 8th Street. A downtown loop is called a loop because it's surrounded on all sides by interstate highways, forming a loop around the downtown. And left turn Clyde. We're passing what has come to be known as the government district of downtown. This here on the right is the federal office building. Fairly recent addition to the skyline here. And to the south you have the Kansas City City Hall and then the Jackson County Courthouse, police headquarters, and there is a federal office building. This is the federal courthouse right here. I picked a really cold day to do it, but you know, what can you do? It's whenever you can get off. Can't control the weather. Unfortunately, it makes it to where that and my late start makes it to where you don't want to get out and walk around, take pictures, and do all those fun things. Alright, we are crossing over the eastern portion of the loop. The loop was built in the 1960s. Definitely did not exist when the Jefferson Highway was a named highway. And I can cross on over anytime. See if we could do it here. Watch me come to a dead end. Nope, doesn't look like a dead end. We're going to be crossing over to Admiral to get on the actual alignment of the Jefferson Highway. There's a lot of things that I don't know. There's a lot of things that aren't readily available to me. I'm learning more as I do this. But, you know, there's nothing to say that Admiral wasn't always a one-way street in the downtown area, and that 8th Street was part of the actual highway alignment. I don't think a whole lot of people actually thought about it that much. They would just go through town and do what they had to do, and then if they were leaving town, they would pick up whichever highway they were on the other side of town. And we are turning right on Paseo. This particular neighborhood is not the best in the world. It's known for prostitution and drugs. Definitely not a place that you want to be wandering around. You get those great nighttime time-lapse shots because of putting your safety at risk when you do that. And up here, we're approaching 12th Street in Paseo. There's a song called Kansas City. It's kind of a theme song of Kansas City. And it talks about this intersection up here. Actually talks about, I'm going to 12th Street and Vine. The funny thing is, Vine never actually crosses 12th Street. It finishes about a block south of 12th Street. And what was at 12th Street, the song was written in about 1950. And what was at 12th Street at that time was an area that was well known for being very wide open, place where travelers could go and find many adult forms of entertainment. And but by the 50s, that was waning because Kansas City Decency Squad in the 1930s kind of made an effort to clean that up. So 12th Street at that time was probably getting really, really seedy and not a place to visit at night. But this right here is 12th Street, and it's the there's a little memorial over here commemorating the Kansas City nightlife scene from the 1920s till about late 40s, and it's 12th Street and Vine District, and there's really not much there except a little marker and a little place you can park and take pictures or whatever. And up ahead we have 18th and Vine, which in the days of segregation up until about the late 50s, early 60s, this was the African American business district where people of color did shopping, and there were some clubs that were famous down there, and it was used as a movie set for a Robert Altman film called Kansas City. It was set in the 1920s, and a lot of great music took place here. There's a little place over here called the Mutual Musicians Foundation, and they play music every Saturday morning, Sunday morning, from about 1:30 till about 5 or 6 in the morning. People just come out and they jam. A lot of jazz, great jazz. And this is called the Jazz District. And there's a museum here too. And there's a museum to the Negro Leagues. And this YMCA building right here is where the Negro Leagues was started. So there's a lot of great history on the Jefferson Highway. And the history is very relevant to American history. The jazz that was developed here spread all over the place, and unfortunately, due to the after effects of the decency movement to sweep up the quote-unquote dirty parts of Kansas City and clean them up, one of the side effects of it was Kansas City sort of turned its back on its own musical heritage. And I would like to see that change, because Charlie Parker is from here. Bebop was basically developed here. My mind draws a blank. There's just too many. I could go on and on and on. And someday I'd like to bring one of my jazz musician friends, and they could talk forever and ever and ever about it. The interesting thing about Jefferson Highway is that it goes from New Orleans to Winnipeg, Canada, and crosses through Kansas City and St. Paul, Minneapolis, and these cities were gateway cities for jazz music. So in many ways, I consider the Jefferson Highway the Jazz Highway. I was told, I haven't really confirmed it, but I was told that Winnipeg, Canada was where jazz music was introduced to Canada. And the Canadians love American jazz. Paseo is a very pretty street. It was a part of the City Beautiful movement. Broad boulevards, parkways, they would be called. A lot of people wanted to live here, and there's a lot of beautiful homes through here. And unfortunately, because of the economic conditions of the urban core through the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, a lot of these areas that are still quite beautiful have gotten a lot of empty, abandoned homes, and a lot of landlord-tenant situations, and not a lot of beauty in a lot of areas. Crime, which means that if you're out touring, do it as a group. Be aware of your surroundings. Try and do it when you can see in the daylight. Don't risk your life to take a picture, especially if you're carrying around expensive equipment. And we're coming up on 31st Street, and I'm gonna turn left here on 31st and head east. That would make some sense to me because 31st Street was an extension of the Victory Highway, or what became US 40. This was US 40 into town at one time. And this goes east to Raytown Road, Stadium Drive, in the Leeds district. Leeds was a little town that became an industrial area, home of the General Motors Leeds plant, which shut down in 1988. And this is an east-west thoroughfare, and I see a lot of indications that at one time it was kind of the way to get from east of Kansas City into town, and or through town. The Victory Highway is another under-recognized thoroughfare. The history of it is tremendous. I'd also like to point out, sometimes we tend to think of things of stereotype people and stereotype areas, redlined areas of cities. If you don't understand what redlining is, you should look it up. But I have to say that when you really scratch below the surface and you start really looking around, you see a lot of great effort taking place. We just passed a church that bought up a lot of land around the church and built a nice development where people could live. There are always efforts underway. Many experiments, many things are being tried to try and bring these areas back and make them more livable again. Because I'm looking at an old Coca-Cola sign painted on the side of a building here. In many ways, this stuff is iconic. It's just as iconic as anywhere on any of the U.S. routes in this country. But because it has a quote-unquote bad reputation, people don't want to come here or stop or do anything. Passing one of the biggest high schools in Kansas City. I believe this was the main high school or central school. Here's a great gas sign. And we're at 31st and Cleveland. Just Happy Foods West is a nice googie building with a cantilevered roof. Something of the modern era, 1950s, 1960s. Mid-century modern. Still heading east on 31st, coming up to very interesting pre-interstate interchange. Many roads merge here, and it's kind of it's interesting, but there's a reason why they wanted to replace these kind of things with our modern interstate highways with on and off ramps. But at this interchange, we're going to start heading southeast. And here is our interchange. I do believe this is why people don't like these kind of things. It gets real confusing. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 spokes on this interchange here. All controlled by 2 sets of traffic lights. And of course, you know, if you're trying to find your way around, and you don't know where you're going, there's always going to be somebody who's going to be there to take advantage and cut you off, thinking they're really gaining something. And it's easy to get very distracted and have a little accident. We are now heading southeast. And this was at one time a major interchange on the eastern side of the city. Victory Highway and Jefferson Highway came together there, and Victory Highway became US 40. And this right here is now called Stadium Drive, but I believe that the whole length was Kansas City to Raytown Road at one time. They named it Stadium Drive after they built the big sports complex to the northeast of here. Arrowhead Stadium where the Chiefs play, and the Kauffman Stadium where the Royals play. And we're now crossing over the Big Blue River. Many efforts have been done to channelize it and do flood control, and we are now in what was a little town called Leeds. Leeds is quickly taken over by Kansas City. And there's a big building over here to our right. This was the General Motors assembly plant. Industrial Park. Vehicle, boat, RV storage. And we're going to be making a right-hand turn up here, and we'll be on Raytown Road. And there's a little archway with railroad tracks right ahead. That is the old Rock Island Railroad. We're turning from Stadium to Raytown as soon as we let these people go. And we are now heading southeast on Raytown Road. Crossing under present day 435 interstate. 435 is essentially a ring road that goes around the Kansas City metro area. We are directly, well, we are to the south and west of the Truman Sports Complex, named after Harry S. Truman, President of the United States, who grew up in this area and came from Independence, Missouri. His library is up on 24 Highway, old US 24, still US 24, and it's when it comes into Independence, Kansas City, Missouri, it's called Independence Avenue. South of the Truman Sports Complex now. Stella has decided to join us up front. What's she doing, Stella? Not sure. So we can go to the back. Stella doesn't know what to do, does she, Tina? We're still in Kansas City, Missouri. We are approaching town called Raytown, Missouri. Raytown kind of grew up around the highways around here. US 50, it got its start pretty much here on the Jefferson Highway. It was a very small little village. Not a whole lot of a downtown, but there is one, and there's some interesting stuff there. There's it's good to walk around there, and I started out so late, so I think I'll skip that part, save it for another day. But there's a place called Fox's Drugs, and it's I believe it's right on the highway, and you can go in there, and I think until about a little bit after lunch you can there's an actual little grill in there, like an old-fashioned drugstore grill, and it's been 2 or 3 years since I've been there, so I haven't looked to see if it's still open. When we went in there, the person running the grill said he had cancer, and You know, it's one of these ways in which things fade from history, fade from the present into the past, and that is that some of the people who run these things get old and there's nobody to come in after them and take over. But who knows? It's only speculation. Maybe it's still there. I'll have to try it again sometime. When I'm not feeling so fat from the holidays. Right, Dougie? Right, Tima? Yeah, eye boogers. Welcome to Raytown. So we are now officially in Raytown, Missouri. This road is heading still southeast, but more south than east from here. And we will be coming into sort of a downtown area of Raytown, or the downtown area. Say Raytown is a city. It's not that old, so the buildings are not. I mean, there's a couple of what they call Victorian functional buildings. You know, the block buildings, brick, usually made of brick, and built in the late 1800s into the early 20th century. Storefronts and restaurants or whatever. The kind of buildings that when we think of a downtown area in the United States, it's what we think of. But mostly a lot of the stuff in Raytown is from more modern period, mid-century modern. Raytown is surrounded almost on all sides by Kansas City. On the north, it touches Independence, Missouri. One thing I would like to try and convince a lot of people to do is take advantage of people's nostalgia in a way that is good for business. You know, start painting some of these telephone poles with the Jefferson Highway marker, not to confuse people, but to make them aware of the history. And then when people ask them, what's that marking? Then go to these businesses and they can have a little brochure that says you are on the Jefferson Highway. Now we are in downtown Raytown. We are going to make a left-hand turn. This Smith Brothers Hardware and Clark's Appliance has pretty neat signage, googie signage. I really like it. And it looks like they've taken really good care of it because it works. It's lit up. It's not lit up right now. And we are crossing over the old Rock Island Railroad line. And we are pretty much in downtown Raytown. Up to the left is Fox's Drugs. Hey, Tima, look, there's a dog training club. Dog training. Dog. And it has the signage on it says Fountain Grill. 75 years. We thank you, the Foxes. It has a big old Russell Stover candy sign on it. We've been to Fox Drugs, haven't we? You haven't been in it because you're not allowed in. But you've been to it. I think I brought you some treats from in there. A little piece of burger. Alright, what are we doing? Trying to make a left-hand turn. We're not, the car in front of us is. We are heading straight if this Cadillac will allow us. It used to be a model train store. I don't think it's here anymore. It was in a house. In the basement, you went down, there was a big layout, and it had a caboose sign in front of it, and the person who owned it combined two of his favorite hobbies, which was rock collecting, minerals, and things like that, and trains. So it was all I can remember about it. We visited there a few times. It said rocks and trains. And now we're passing into more of a suburban setting. And we will be taking a, oh, I forgot to say what street we're on. We'll be taking a right-hand turn pretty soon. This is 63rd Street. And we'll be taking a right here on Woodson Road. You know, it's amazing to me. I was not aware until fairly recently of the Jefferson Highway, and it's amazing to me how often I've driven these old roads and never given much of a thought of it. I mean, you know, all roads have some history and stuff. Alright, let's see. I believe we'll be taking... Hopefully we're not taking a wrong turn. Taking a left here. This is a... Oh yeah, this is right. I know it's right. This is a Little Blue Road. It's named after the Little Blue River, which runs straight into the Missouri River. Getting back to ways of promoting the Jefferson Highway. You know, one way is to, and this is a great project, the Eagle Scout project for Boy Scouts, is maybe to get some signs up so that people who are so inclined can follow it, or those who are not inclined may notice it and go, what is that? And people might tell them. We might have some people who appreciate history and get really turned on to something they didn't know about. I don't know how to go about it. You know, the utility poles are private property, and it's vandalism to paint on them. But the way a way to do it might be to ask the utility company if they're interested in allowing not all their poles, but some of their poles. And if you look at the Jefferson Highway instruction manual, basically it tells you how to do it. It tells you where to mark them and how far out to mark them. But if the utility companies don't want to get on board with that, then maybe some homeowners might be interested in putting a sign up in their front yard if you were traveling on the Jefferson Highway or a little Jefferson Highway, and definitely get with some of the business owners and some might not like the idea, but some might be really keen to it, because anything that brings traffic to their doors is more power to it. This is a very pretty area through here. This area and the Noland Road, and you know, I'm complaining about how little time I have and everything, and daylight and stuff, but yet I'm making good time on this route. I realized I'm almost to Lee Summit. But you know, as I find, you say something like that, and no sooner you say it than you realize you're not making as good a time as you think. Alright, we're going to be making a right turn, and this is Noland Road. And I guess there's a big cross illustrating the dangers of driving some of these routes. We are heading south on Noland Road now. I believe we have not crossed. Which is US 50. That's another deal that confuses a lot of people. When you come into these cities, the road names changed a lot, and even US highways would go by many other names. You know, it's a good thing they would put numbers on them so that people could follow them. Oh, so busy yakety yakking that I missed my turn. We'll have to turn around. Like I say, you think you're ahead and then you put yourself behind. You gotta find a safe place to turn around up here. Kind of an oxymoron on some of these winding roads with people that drive really fast. You try and find a turn and you end up it's so easy to do. And that's another thing in this effort that I'm trying to head off, or not head off, but you know, trying to do what I can with. Car coming, pay attention. And that is, if we want people to follow these routes and all the benefits of that, having people spend their money and find a good vacation route, we have to have good maps, good guides. And so, you know, the first part of, and it sounds kind of ridiculous, but the first part of getting this route, or any route, as a viable tour is to identify it. And a lot of these old auto trails roads are not all that easy to find. So after making our little detour here, we're back on Nolan Road. So I should pay attention this time. Here we are. I'm kind of redrawing this map as I drive it, and unfortunately when you make a detour like that, you kind of got a line you have to erase later. You know, using software like Mavericks in the phone, GPSes, Oryx Maps, I don't know how to say it, it's ORYUX. Alright, now we're back on the Jefferson Highway. We're going to be crossing over some railroad tracks here. I believe these are Uncle Pete's tracks, or Union Pacific. This area here is almost like its own little town, little village. Matter of fact, oh, it's for rent. Not wanting to make many detours, but you know, it's like a little town. Let's see if I can turn around without arousing any suspicion and take a little picture here. This doggy is interested in us. Look, Tima, doggy. Oh, that would work out well for what I want to do. Let me see if I can compose this. All right. Alright, doggies, you need to be cool. Don't do that. I know, there's a doggy. You're excited. You're thinking you're gonna go out. You're not. Crop this right. Put it in photo mode. I, of course, don't want that car in my picture. You're being really distracting, Tima. I know, my poor long-suffering dogs here. It's almost like its own little village. I know where, I believe we're in Kansas City. We crossed out of Raytown some time ago. But I don't know the name of it. I have to look that up later. And I'm sure it doesn't show up on any of the maps that I've seen. Spots where you have to pay attention. So we want to head south and not east. And maybe I'm just blind or whatever, not looking at it very good. Yeah, there's a Y here. Coming up to a Y. And this is still Little Blue. The Y here is Woods Chapel Road. Woods Chapel Road is heading east, and Little Blue is heading generally south. All worked up and now you're panting. we have just turned a little T here on 79th Street. We are coming into Lee Summit, Missouri. This is Truman Medical Center East. And now it says it's the Lakewood. I don't know, I'm confused. Big hospital here. This is the Lakewood. And we will be turning right here on Lee Summit Road. Used to be known as Truman Medical Center East. Matter of fact, it still says TMC on the water tower, so I'm not making it up. But Truman Medical Center Lakewood. All right. TMC. They just added Lakewood. The Lakewood. Sounds fancy. Down Lee Summit Road. City limit, Lee Summit. We just crossed from Kansas City, Missouri into Lee Summit. Really close here to our east. Lee Summit Airport. It kind of makes me wonder. Not too much. I've seen there's at least one good old map out there that shows the alignment of this route. So this is pretty true, I think. Although sometimes I think if they add things like airports and stuff, they reroute roads. And what can you do? Stopped here at Lee Summit and Colburn for a light. We'll be crossing over 470. It's actually part of 435. You know, the ring road. 470 is like the eastern branch of the ring road. although it doesn't quite go all the way around, it merges with, doesn't merge, it becomes the US, or not US, Missouri 291. Apparently I've lost the route. What have I done? Oh, I missed it. Nope, it's still there. This little tracking program is acting funny on me. I added the route to it last night. It took me a long time to figure out how to do that. It seems like some of these programs are being engineered so that it makes it hard to add your own path. You know, it's kind of the what they call it, algorithm of many of these search sites that direct you towards what everybody else is doing, and sometimes you have to fight and struggle and figure out how to turn all that off so you can do what you want to do, not what other people want you to do. And I find that life is much more interesting if you figure out what you like, as opposed to just going along with what everybody else likes. Music and roads, you know, if I want to follow a certain path or explore a certain area, I want to do that. I don't want if I need help from a GPS company or a map search engine or whatever, I want to be able to build my own. And then if more people like that, they can follow in that path, and it'll eventually start showing up on your computer when you do a search, because that's how a lot of these things work. It's by popularity. Now we are, what is this called? I think this is called Douglas Road. We're heading south on Douglas Road in Lee Summit. And, yeah, we're at, or is it Douglas Road, or are we still on Lee Summit Road? Nope, this is Douglas. Douglas and Chipman. There is supposed to be a marker around here somewhere, a sign that somebody put up for Jefferson Highway. It says, nope, I thought it said historic marker. It said public parking only. Oh, my line has disappeared again. Oh, there it is. And sometimes, for whatever reason, the line that I put in there is disappearing. Which, you know, I was trying to figure out how I could get it set up so that my GPS would say, turn right here, turn left here. But, again, that's not a function that builders of that system are very fond of, apparently, because it's, I tried really hard and couldn't figure out how to do it. Historic Hearn Street. See historic Hearn Street, but we don't see anything. It says Pines to Palms. You were traveling on the Jefferson Highway. We're coming into downtown Lee Summit. this might be sort of an early version of a bypass. You have the main part of downtown Lee Summit, but the road turns right here on North or Southeast 2nd Street and kind of goes around the downtown, not through it. Now, you know, the problem with these maps is that it's just because you have a map doesn't mean it's right. So I don't know the accuracy of this. You know, it needs people to take a little more time and do some more research of finding out things. And we are turning left on Jefferson. Now that is a sign. We are at 2nd and Jefferson. If you look, sometimes when the road came through a town, they actually named it Jefferson, and that's, I believe, after the Jefferson Highway. So we're at 3rd, or Southwest 3rd and Jefferson, Southwest Jefferson Street. Somebody has put up some historic markers. Talk about the different editions. You know, they're like little street signs here. I just saw one that said Bales Edition or something like that. And now we're about to cross over US 50, also known as the loneliest road. We are hoping to turn cross over US 50, but if this 18-wheeler will allow it. Don't know if we have an accident or what. If the truck is broken down. We are back on the Jefferson Highway after detouring for the 18-wheeler truck, which is still stuck there. Uh-oh. There's my turn. Don't go on 291, go on Southwest Jefferson. Yay! Oops, damn it. Deep Madon. Oh, missed my chance. That's good. Only have one lane of traffic to really worry about. Making a the truck is being pulled by a pickup truck. Interesting. Which means it's uncorked all this traffic that was bottled up that I have to wait for. It's funny how the last couple of miles of it become the biggest problem. Isn't that the way life always works? Yield. And now making the turn here from Oldham Road to Jefferson. Oh, stop here on red. What am I stopping for? Some road destruction going on down there. Hurry up and wait. The Popo have come out to see to that truck, which has finally moved across. You know, naturally, once I make all that detour and stuff. I guess as long as I kept moving, it's fine. Alright, we have a green light. We're good. Abundant life is making room for you to choice. Alright, can we make it? Hey, Ryan. Lost the camera. Lost the camera. Oh no. Nothing other than Southwest Jefferson Street says you were traveling on the Jefferson Highway. Except that no stopping or standing. Finally, I found a sign. I'm not making this up. I'm not crazy. Finally, a sign. That is what we need to see more of. This is an area I've seen referred to as South Lee. Jefferson and Market, some railroad tracks here. Haven't been used in a while, obviously. Out in the boonies. Jefferson Highway makes a left-hand turn up here. What's this street? Southwest Stewart Road and Jefferson. Interesting to see. Oh, it does. It crosses over. Or it doesn't cross over. It crosses 291 at grade, which means you can connect to 291. I couldn't tell by looking at a map whether it was an overpass or an underpass. You know, sometimes they don't let you onto the highway. Not good enough. This is Missouri 291. I'm thinking with the daylight we have left, I'm going to cross over the county line into Cass County and make it to Harrisonville.